Subscribe to the channel and also press the bell icon to never miss an update from Endeavor Careers.
Hello and welcome to Endeavor's GK Capsule for the month of July 2021. July was the month of Olympics at Tokyo. The Olympic Games could finally be organized after the postponement due to the pandemic. Two billionaires, Richard Branson and Jeff Bezos, traveled to space this month. A lot of political activities were also witnessed this month, with Pegasus snooping scandal and the change of chief ministers in Uttarakhand and Karnataka. Let us look at these and other highlights of the month. The first category is awards and recognition. The 74th Cannes Film Festival was organized this month. The festival took place from 6th to 17th July. Taking place 2 months later than usual, this year's film festival has been much anticipated after last year's cancellation. The Cannes Film Festival is one of the most prestigious film festivals globally. It previews new films of all genres, including documentaries from all over the world. The most prestigious award given at Cannes is the Palme d'Or, or the Golden Palm Award for the best film. French filmmaker Julia Ducournau won this year's Palme d'Or for her film Titan. She has become only the second female director to win this award. India's Payal Kapadia won the award for the best documentary for A Night of Knowing Nothing at the Cannes Film Festival 2021. Payal is a student of Film and Television Institute of India, Pune. The United Nations Development Programme, or UNDP, announced the winners of the prestigious UNDP Equator Prize 2021. This is a biennial award given to organizations working to reduce poverty. Two winners in this year's list are from India. APPC Limited and Sneha Kunja Trust are among the 10 awardees of the prestigious Equator Prize for their work in the field of conservation and biodiversity. The APPC Limited, or Adhimalai Pazhangudiyanir Producer Company Limited, is a cooperative society run entirely by indigenous people from the Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve in Tamil Nadu. The cooperative society has improved livelihood across 147 villages by processing and marketing a diverse range of forest produce and crops. Sneha Kunja Trust has protected sensitive wetland and coastal ecosystems in the Western Ghats and the Karnataka coast for 45 years, with a focus on community-based restoration and conservation. The winners will receive a prize of $10,000 and the opportunity to join a series of special virtual events organized by the United Nations General Assembly in October. The next category is persons in news. Two BJP-ruled states, one in North India and another in South India, had seen the appointment of new chief ministers in the month of July. On 3rd July, Pushkar Singh Dhami was appointed as the new chief minister of Uttarakhand. Pushkar Singh Dhami is the third chief minister of Uttarakhand in 4 months. He replaced Tirath Singh Rawat, who was made chief minister in place of Trivendra Singh Rawat. The quick change of chief ministers is because of the upcoming assembly elections in Uttarakhand next year. On 27th July, Basavaraj Bommai was appointed as the new chief minister of Karnataka. He succeeded B.S. Yediyurappa, who resigned from the post after the protests from the party MLAs. Basavaraj is the son of former chief minister S.R. Bommai. It is the second time of a father-son duo becoming chief minister of Karnataka after H.D. Devagowda and H.D. Kumaraswamy. Rakesh Asthana was appointed as the Commissioner of Delhi Police on 28th July. Asthana is a 1984 batch IPS officer of Gujarat cadre. He is currently serving as the Director General of BSF. He had earlier served as the Special Director of CBI. During his stint in the CBI, he was engaged in an ugly fight with the then CBI Director Alok Verma. The appointment of Rakesh Asthana to the post of Delhi's Police Commissioner came just days before his retirement on July 31st. This sudden appointment was opposed by Delhi's Aam Aadmi Party government for the fear of misuse of Delhi police against the political rivals. Pulitzer Prize-winning Indian photojournalist Danish Siddiqui has been killed in Afghanistan on 16th July. The 38-year-old Danish was the chief photographer for Reuters news agency. He was on a field assignment in Afghanistan. He was traveling with a convoy of Afghan forces that was ambushed by Taliban militants near Kandahar. According to a latest report by a US magazine, Washington Examiner, Danish Siddiqui was not only killed in a crossfire in Afghanistan, but he was captured, tortured, and murdered by Taliban after verifying his identity. Danish was a renowned photojournalist. He won the Pulitzer Prize in 2018 for his coverage of the Rohingya crisis in Myanmar. He had extensively covered the Afghanistan conflict, the Hong Kong protests, and other major events in Asia, Middle East, and Europe. Veteran actor Dilip Kumar died at the age of 98. He had been in and out of hospital over the last few years with various illnesses. Born as Mohammad Yusuf Khan in Peshawar, Dilip Kumar started his acting career in 1944 with the film Jwar Bhata. Dilip Kumar appeared in some of Indian cinema's most iconic and landmark films including Naya Daur, Mughal-e-Azam, Devdas, Ram Aur Shyam, Andaz, Madhumati and Ganga Jamuna. In 1966, Dilip Kumar married actress Saira Banu. Dilip Kumar received the Padma Vibhushan, the Padma Bhushan and the Dada Saheb Phalke Award. He also received Pakistan's highest civilian honour, the Nishan-e-Imtiaz. Former Himachal Pradesh Chief Minister and senior Congress leader Veerbhadra Singh passed away at the age of 87. Veerbhadra Singh served as the Chief Minister of Himachal Pradesh for 6 terms, from 1983 to 2017. His wife Pratibha Singh and son Vikramaditya Singh are also politicians. Let us now look at major highlights in the category of national news. Dholavira, a Harappan era city in Gujarat, has been given the tag of UNESCO World Heritage Site. Dholavira is the Indian second site to be included in the World Heritage List this year, after the Rampa Temple in Telangana. Dholavira and Rampa Temple were included in the list during the 44th session of the UNESCO's World Heritage Committee. The session was chaired by China and was held online. With these two inclusions, now India has 40 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Puri in Odisha has become the first city in the country to have a drink from tap facility. This means that the city now has safe drinking water that can be used directly from the tap for cooking and drinking without requiring further filtration. Puri has now joined the elite group of international cities like London, New York and Singapore in supplying quality water from municipal taps throughout the day. This is a part of Odisha government's Sujal mission. The Sujal or Drink from Tap mission of the Odisha government has made Puri the first in the country to have city-wide 24-hour quality drinking water from the tap. Indian media house The Wire exposed an international snooping and spying scandal on 18th July. The Wire reported that the phone numbers of many Indian journalists were hacked using an Israeli software, Pegasus. The Wire's analysis of the data showed that most of the journalists were targeted between 2018 and 19 in the run-up to the 2019 Lok Sabha elections. The report further added that the NSO group, which sells Pegasus, has refused to share the list of its customers but said that it offers its spyware only to the governments. The report was published by The Wire in collaboration with 16 other international publications, including The Washington Post, The Guardian, and Amnesty International. The report said forensic tests have confirmed the presence of the military-grade spyware on some devices. Not just journalists, it was later revealed that the mobile phones of more than 300 Indians, including 2 union ministers, 3 opposition leaders, and scores of business persons and activists in India, have been targeted for hacking through the Israeli spyware Pegasus. Some of the names revealed by The Wire are Rahul Gandhi, Mamta Banerjee's nephew Abhishek Banerjee, Prashant Kishore, IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnav, Minister of State for Jal Shakti Prahlad Singh Patel, Vishwa Hindu Parishad's leader Praveen Togadia, etc. Within a few minutes after The Wire published this report, the central government responded and said that there has been no unauthorized interception by its agencies, adding that allegations regarding government surveillance on specific people has no concrete basis or truth. The issue has caused disruption in the monsoon session of the parliament, with opposition parties demanding a Supreme Court-led inquiry in the allegations. A long-standing interstate border dispute between Assam and Mizoram erupted into fresh violence. 5 soldiers of Assam police were killed in the violence on 26th July. The violence came on a day when Chief Minister of Assam and Mizoram's Zoramthanga got into a verbal fight on Twitter. The dispute between the two states dates back to 50 years when Mizoram was separated from Assam in 1972. The two states share a 165-kilometer long border which often becomes disputed. The latest violence took place when Assam police went to stop an encroachment drive on a land near the state border. Home Minister Amit Shah has intervened to calm down the situation. In a landmark decision, the central government has announced a 27% reservation for other backward classes and a 10% reservation for economically weaker section candidates in the All India quota for undergraduate and postgraduate medical and dental courses from the current academic year 2021-22 onwards. The All India quota or AIQ scheme was introduced in 1986. It consists of 15% of the total available UG seats and 50% of the total available PG seats in government medical colleges. Initially, there was no reservation in All India quota scheme up to 2007. In 2007, the Supreme Court introduced reservation of 15% for SCs and 7.5% for STs in the All India quota scheme. Now, the Union government has introduced 27% reservation for OBCs and 10% reservation for EWS in the All India quota scheme. Prime Minister Narendra Modi made the announcement on 26 July. This decision would benefit nearly 3,000 OBC students and 1,500 EWS students annually. On 8 July, Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced the biggest cabinet reshuffle since he came to power. Prime Minister Modi inducted 36 new ministers into his government. With this, the central government now has 77 ministers. The move comes ahead of elections in important states including Uttar Pradesh. Amongst those who were sworn in are Jyotiraditya Scindia, a former Congress leader who switched to BJP last year, Sarbanand Sonowal, the former Chief Minister of Assam, and former Congress leader from Maharashtra, Narayan Rane. Health Minister Harsh Vardhan was the most prominent minister who was dropped from the cabinet. He has been widely criticized for his handling of the pandemic. India's vaccination program has also been criticized for being very slow. Mansukh Mandavia is appointed as the new health minister. Ravi Shankar Prasad was another prominent name who had been dropped from the cabinet. His resignation comes amid growing tensions between the government and social media platforms over new IT rules. He was replaced by Ashwini Vaishnav as the new IT minister. Ashwini is also given the charge of Railway Ministry. Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar and Education Minister Dr. Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank have also been dropped. Check the first comment for a complete list of all the union ministers in the current Modi government. The Indian Council of Medical Research released the findings of its fourth Sero survey on 21st July. In this phase, ICMR surveyed 36,227 people across 21 states in June and July. A Sero survey is a population-wide sampling test done over a fixed period of time. It is traditionally done by taking blood samples from a random selection of people to look for antibodies against COVID virus. The results indicate how much of the population was infected and how many have recovered. The latest survey found that 67.6% of India's population have COVID-19 antibodies. While this data presented a ray of hope, it also shows that at least 40 crore people are still unprotected against the infection. The key takeaway from this survey is that COVID-appropriate behavior and rapid vaccination is still the key defense against the pandemic. Let us now look at major highlights in the category of international news. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken came to India on a two-day visit on 28 July. Blinken is the third high-ranking official in the Biden administration to visit Delhi after Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin in March and Special Envoy on Climate Change John Kerry in April. Blinken had talks with the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar and the National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. Antony Blinken's trip to India would strengthen US-India bilateral relations. He discussed rapidly evolving security situation in Afghanistan as well as to expand cooperation in the Indo-Pacific region under Quad. The riots and unrest in South Africa continued throughout the month. Widespread riots and looting started in many cities of South Africa in the second week of July. Violence erupted after former President Jacob Zuma was arrested. Zuma served as the president from 2009 to 18 and was once seen as a great hero. He had spent 10 years in prison with Nelson Mandela, but his 9 years in power were marred with allegations of high-level corruption. Zuma is accused of corruption involving 3 businessmen close to him, Atul, Ajay and Rajesh Gupta, and allowing them to influence government policy. In July this year, Zuma was arrested and sent for a 15-month jail on corruption charges. This led to protests in South Africa. Protesters are burning and looting shopping malls and fighting with the police. Now the military has been brought in to bring the situation under control. More than 300 people lost their lives in the violence in South Africa so far. A court in the United Kingdom declared fugitive Indian businessman Vijay Mallya bankrupt. This will pave the way for Indian banks to seize Mallya's assets to recover debt owed by Kingfisher Airlines. The Chief Insolvencies and Companies Court in London ruled in favor of Indian banks in a virtual hearing. The Indian banks have argued for bankruptcy order. A consortium of 13 Indian banks led by the State Bank of India has been pursuing Vijay Mallya for recovery of more than 1 billion British pounds. Meanwhile, Vijay Mallya remains on bail in London. His extradition proceedings to India are yet to be initiated. The next category is news from the field of business, economy and industrial sectors. According to the data released by National Statistical Office, India's retail inflation reduced marginally to 6.26% in June. Retail inflation was 6.30% in May. While the inflation reduced slightly, it still remains above the upper limit of RBI's inflation target for the second straight month. The aim is to achieve a retail inflation target of 4% plus or minus 2%. Even though elevated inflation will put pressure on RBI, it is expected to maintain policy rates unchanged at the next monetary policy review in August to protect the nascent economic recovery from the devastating impact of the pandemic. Meanwhile, the central government increased the dearness allowance for central government employees from the existing 17% to 28%. Dearness allowance is paid by the government to its employees as the cost of living allowance to protect them from inflation. The government has frozen all such hikes from January 2020 as coronavirus pandemic has dented government's revenue. The initial public offering or IPO of Zomato was launched on 14th July. Zomato raised Rs 9,375 crores through the IPO, which comprised of a fresh issue of equity shares worth Rs 9,000 crores and a sale of shares worth Rs 375 crores by existing investor InfoEdge India, the parent company of online job search platform Naukri.com. The price band has been fixed at Rs 72 to 76 apiece, giving it a market value of up to Rs 59,623 crores or about $8 billion. Zomato is the first internet-based startup to raise public money after the pandemic. Before heading into the IPO, Zomato raised over 4,196 crore rupees from 186 anchor investors. The anchor investors include the likes of Tiger Global Investment Fund, BlackRock, Fidelity, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, T. Rowe Price, Canada Pension Plan Investment Board, Government of Singapore, SBI Mutual Fund, Axis Mutual Fund, Kotak Mutual Fund, UTI Mutual Fund, Motilal Oswal AMC, HDFC Mutual Fund, ICICI Prudential Mutual Fund, Tata Mutual Fund, Goldman Sachs India, Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, Franklin Templeton, HSBC Asset Management India, among others. A large part of the IPO proceeds will be used to fund Zomato's growth initiatives. In a setback to India, Britain's Cairn Energy has secured an order from a court in France to seize 20 Indian government properties in Paris. The properties mostly comprise of flats used by Indian government officials in Paris. Cairn Energy is trying to recover $1.7 billion from Indian government following victory in a retrospective tax dispute. A 3-member international arbitration tribunal had unanimously decided in favor of the company in December last year. The tribunal ordered the Government of India to pay a tax refund and compensation to Cairn Energy. With the Indian government refusing to honor the award, Cairn has moved in multiple overseas jurisdictions to enforce the award by seizing Indian assets. Last month, it brought a similar lawsuit for property seizure in New York. The Government of India is planning to challenge the court order in a higher court. Bhutan has become the first country to adopt India's Unified Payment Interface or UPI standards for its QR code. It is also the second country after Singapore to have Bhim UPI acceptance at merchant locations. Speaking at the virtual launch of Bhim UPI in Bhutan, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said that it will help Indian tourists visiting Bhutan. Over 2 lakh tourists from India travel to Bhutan every year. Bharat Interface for Money, which is Bhim, is India's digital payment application that works through UPI, a system that powers multiple bank accounts into a single mobile app. The payment system was launched by the National Payment Corporation of India in partnership with the Royal Monetary Authority of Bhutan. With this launch, Bhutan becomes the first country to adopt UPI standards for its QR deployment. Bhutan has also become the only country to use RuPay cards as well as Bhim UPI. Chinese smartphone maker Xiaomi has become the second largest smartphone maker during the second quarter of this year. Xiaomi had a 17% share of global smartphone shipments, ahead of Apple's 14% and behind Samsung's 19%. Xiaomi posted year-on-year smartphone shipment growth of 83% versus 15% for Samsung and 1% for Apple. Xiaomi has benefited from Huawei's struggles. Huawei was once the largest smartphone player in the world, but US sanctions has caused its sales to dip significantly. While smartphones still account for the majority of Xiaomi's revenue, the company is looking to get into newer areas. In March, Xiaomi announced plans to launch electric vehicles and invest $10 billion over the next 10 years. The next category is science and technology. 2 competing billionaires have launched successful trips to space this month. In the race for commercial space travel, Richard Branson of Virgin Galactic traveled to space on 11th July, followed by Jeff Bezos of Amazon and Blue Origin on 20th July. Richard Branson and 5 other crew members flew to space on the VSS Unity spacecraft. One of the crew members in Branson's team was Indian origin astronaut Shirisha Bandla. Shirisha has become the second woman born in India to go to space after Kalpana Chawla. On the other hand, Jeff Bezos and 3 crew members lifted off on the Blue Origin's New Shepard rocket. Both the rockets flew above the 50-mile altitude, which is recognized as the boundary of space by NASA. While the launch locations and methods were different, their goals for commercial space flights are similar. Both launches are complete, but the space race is not over. Blue Origin plans to launch 2 more passenger flights before the end of this year, but ticket prices have not been revealed. Flights aboard Virgin Galactic spaceplanes are believed to cost around $250,000. Both companies hope the market will support economies of scale and lower prices down the road. 2 Chinese astronauts made the country's first spacewalk outside the Chinese space station Tianhe on 4th July. Chinese astronauts floated out of the space station core module Tianhe to carry out extravehicular activities. They spent 7 hours outside the under-construction space station before returning safely. This is the second Chinese spacewalk after a Chinese astronaut had carried out a spacewalk in 2008. China's space station is a significant step in its ambitious space program. China has landed a rover on Mars and sent probes to the moon recently. The Defense Research and Development Organization (DRDO) conducted the second consecutive successful test of the new generation of Akash missile on 24th July. The test was conducted at the Integrated Test Range in Chandipur, Odisha. Akash is a primarily short-range surface-to-air missile developed by DRDO for the protection of vulnerable areas from enemy air attacks. The Akash missile system is operational with both the Indian Air Force as well as the Indian Army. The Akash NG or new generation has various new features and it will enhance the air defense capabilities of the Indian Air Force. DRDO scientists said that the missile system has a range of close to 60 kilometers and can travel at 2.5 times the speed of sound. World's first 3D printed steel bridge was opened to the public in Amsterdam in July. The bridge represents a major milestone for 3D printing technology. 3D printing or additive manufacturing is a process of making three-dimensional solid objects from a digital file. The creation of a 3D printed object is achieved using additive processes. In an additive process, an object is created by laying down successive layers of material until the object is created. Each of these layers can be seen as a thinly sliced cross-section of the object. The Amsterdam Bridge is developed by MX3D, a Dutch robotics company. The 12-meter long steel structure has smart sensors built in it that transmits data on its health in real time to show how it changes over its lifespan. The sensors attached to the structure will gather data on air quality, temperature, strain, displacement, and vibration. The next category is sports. Tokyo Olympics finally started with the opening ceremony on 23rd July. The Olympics were originally scheduled in 2020 but had to be postponed due to the pandemic. This is the fourth Olympics in Japan. Japan has earlier hosted Olympics in 1964, 72 and 98. Athletes from 205 participating countries and the refugee team marched into the stadium with their flags in front of the empty stands due to coronavirus. Tokyo Olympics introduced new sports like 3x3 baseball, freestyle BMX and mixed gender team events in many existing sports. The official mascot of the 2020 Summer Olympics in Tokyo is Mirai Toa, a traditional Japanese pattern design. Tokyo Olympics will conclude on 8th August. India has sent its largest contingent of 122 athletes to Tokyo. India's hockey captain Manpreet Singh and legendary boxer MC Mary Kom were the flag bearers of Indian contingent during the opening ceremony parade. Tokyo Olympics will conclude on 8th August and we will update you about India's performance in the Olympics in next month's video. The 2021 edition of Wimbledon tennis tournament was held in London from 28th June to 11th July. Novak Djokovic successfully defended his men's singles title. He defeated Matteo Berrettini of Italy in the finals. This is the 20th Grand Slam title for Djokovic. In women's single category, Ashley Barty of Australia defeated Karolina Pliskova in the final. In the boys doubles category, the Indian-American player Samir Banerjee won the title with his partner Victor Lilov. Italy won its second Euro Cup title by defeating England on penalties in the final. The tournament, which was postponed due to COVID-19 pandemic, was well received by the fans. The tournament was hosted across 11 cities in Europe. Portugal's Cristiano Ronaldo and Czech Republic's Patrick Schick both were highest goal scorers in the tournament with 5 goals each. The Indian-American chess player Abhimanyu Mishra has become the youngest chess grandmaster at the age of 12 years 5 months. He broke Russian Sergei Karzakin's record set in 2002. His parents are IT professionals. They are originally from Bhopal and migrated to the United States in 2007. In the end, let us look at some other miscellaneous news items. Microblogging website Twitter is shutting down its Fleets service. Fleets was disappearing tweet automatically deleted after 24 hours. It was Twitter's response to Instagram and Snapchat stories. The feature was launched just a year ago and will be closed down on 3rd August. Fleets was not getting enough usage on the platform. Shutting it down will give Twitter more space on the app to showcase Spaces, which is Twitter's audio chat service. Kerala government has decided to launch its own dedicated OTT platform which will exclusively stream Malayalam films. The government is not planning to earn revenue from the platform but will use it as a medium to promote local culture. The focus will be especially on smaller films that find no takers amongst the bigger OTT platforms like Netflix or Amazon Prime. The platform is likely to be launched in November, and after Kerala, Tamil Nadu government is also planning to launch a similar OTT platform for Tamil content. With this, we have come to the end of this video. We hope you like the coverage of topics in our monthly GK capsules. Do also watch our other videos. Happy learning. Thank you.